Hello, I'm Lynn Lowry, and I'm an actress, entertainer. I've been acting for a really long time. Um, how I got into it basically was I was very shy as a child, and I needed some kind of an outlet. So I found that when I was in front of people, I could be another personality. I could be something else. And because of that, I got a lot of attention, and a lot of people, loved what I could do and all that. I mean, I think the first thing that I did was when I was like 4 years old. I played a sheep in a church play for the Christmas pageant. And then from that, I went on to playing the trumpet because my dad was a trumpet player and he wanted me to play the trumpet, and hunt as well. But I played the trumpet and I won all kinds of medals for Superior. I was in contests. I played it all through grade school, all through high school. But the biggest thing that happened to me was when I was like 7, I think. We had to give reports on an insect, and I picked the spider, which I don't know, maybe that's, a prelude to me being into horror, I'm not sure. But I picked the spider and I got up in front of the class and I did my spider report, and everyone just thought it was great and they wanted me to do their insect report. So that really gave me the clue that, oh, I should, really get into this. I did grade school plays, and I went into high school and did all kinds of skits, and was kind of the goofball of the class, and did the Carol Burnett stripper thing in front of the whole high school. I mean, I was just wacky. And then I got a speech and drama scholarship to the University of Georgia, due to, actually, my mom helped me a lot with this. When I was 16 years old, we moved to Burbank, California, from Cahokia, Illinois. And so talk about, a culture shock. That was like a major, major culture shock. But when I was there, our teacher gave us monologues one day in the drama class, and she said, pick one. And I took them home and showed them to my mom, and my mom picked Tennessee Williams' Portrait of a Madonna, which is about this 50-year-old spinster who thinks that her old boyfriend is coming through her window at night and raping her, and she's pregnant with his child. So she was like really a schizophrenic, nutty person. And my whole family is actually from Tennessee, my mom's side. So I have this kind of Tennessee Williams quality anyway. So I just did this monologue, and I mean, man, I just got so much attention. And so I used that to get the scholarship into the University of Georgia. And that's how I started acting and how long I've been acting. I was in several genre films that have all become cult classics. And the first one I was in actually was with Lloyd Kaufman, and Trauma. I don't think it was Trauma at that point, though, but it was just Lloyd Kaufman at that point. It was a short called The Battle of Love's Return. And he was the star, the director, the writer, the editor. What else is there? Whatever else there was, Lloyd was. And I got the part because I was auditioning for Canon Joe, and I think I was there for like my second callback. Susan Sarandon got the role. Darn. But Lloyd saw me in the waiting room, and he rushed over and he went, oh my God, I'm doing this short, and we just lost our dream girl, and you just would be perfect. Would you like to do it? We're not paying anything, but we'd love to have you. So I hadn't done anything, and it was great. So I got to work with Lloyd, who I have to say really is very professional and a wonderful person. And he does have a kind of wacky, on camera or in public personality, but a very generous man, and I really love him, and we still stay in touch and all. The second film, and it was a short, so that wasn't my first feature. My first feature was I Drink Your Blood, which I got because I went on an audition from a paper called Backstage. And I went on this audition, and David Durston, who passed away a couple of years ago, who he had finished auditioning everything, and he was packing up, and I got there late, and David's very flamboyant, and he went, "Oh my God, girl, where have you been? I must have you in my film. You are fabulously beautiful. I'm going to use you," and I was like, oh shit, I mean, I'd only been in New York like, I don't know, a year, but I was already kind of jaded, with the bullshit, and I was thinking. So I left, and sure enough, David called me, and he said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to cast you in my film as a mute, so I don't have to write any lines for you. So you will be a mute hippie in the group, So I said, okay. So I went to Sharon Springs, New York. We were in this house across the street from this Hasidic church. And I'm telling you, I Drink Your Blood was wacko. The people, they're wonderful people, but everybody, we were all like, it was the first time I ever smoked grass. We were, I mean, the lighting man leaned out and, went, want to hit? Want to toke? And I was like, we took acid. I mean, it was like, the movie was like on acid anyway. We weren't on acid when we were shooting, but, well, I was, because I didn't have any lines. No, I wasn't really. But it was so crazy. I mean, it was, and so David decided he would have this scene with me. Well, first, he wanted Jerry Gross to see, the film, because he was afraid that Jerry Gross, the producer, was going to say, "Who's that girl? We didn't hire her. We're not paying her. Get rid of her." So he looked at the dailies and he went, "Who's that girl? She's fabulous. Write her a scene." So David wrote the famous cutting the woman's hand off scene, which became, the logo on the DVD when it was released 5 years ago, and I'm not credited in the movie because was not on the cast list when the people that did the credits wrote it up. So I'm not, in it, but everybody knows it's me, and it's actually kind of funny that I'm not credited. Then I did Lloyd's full feature, which would have probably been much better had it been left a short, but we did the full feature of Battle of Love's Return, and then Sugar Cookies, which I did with Mary Warrenoff, and Mary was wonderful to work with, and it was the first time I'd ever done nudity, which was very interesting. But once you take all your clothes off and you're like naked for like 3 hours, nobody cares. At first the crew is like, "Ho, hauga," but after like a while it's like, "Could you move over a little bit? We want to put a light here," throw a blanket over you. I mean, nobody cares, as you just sort of get used to it. And, and the sensuality that Mary and I created, in the film is really beautiful. And she's gorgeous in the film, and I'm gorgeous in the film. I think it's the best film that Lloyd ever did. But he said it's the only X-rated film that was ever made that didn't make any money. So that's because there were so many other elements to it. But again, we didn't do anything X-rated. It was all simulated and all. Then I did The Crazies. Again, went on an audition through Backstage. Was called back 2 or 3 times. They were looking for this girl that goes crazy, which, I do really well. I don't know why. But, George loved my look, long hair that came down to here, and he loved my look, and he was phenomenal to work with. We just got along great, and Dick Liberty, who's no longer with us, played my father, and he was wonderful to work with. And the film just, it didn't take off when we did it back in the 70s. I mean, people just didn't like it because there were no zombies in it. But now, obviously, they did a $21 million remake of it. So it is a very substantial film. And although the remake, which I also have a cameo in, which I thought was great that they played homage to the original by bringing me in to the cameo. But the original is is memorable and disturbing, and people who see it don't forget it. And I mean, I get raped by my father in it. And Breck Eisner, the director of the remake, told me that he was asked if they were going to do the Lynn Lowry scene, and he said, no, 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 we can't do that now. My character and my father's character were not even in the remake. And it's a fun movie, it's entertaining, but 40 years from now, I don't think people will probably still be talking about it the way they're talking about Romero's film. So it was a great experience. And the only disagreement that I had with George was my death scene, which I thought, ooh, a death scene. I'm going to scream and cry and grovel and crawl and grab hold of the soldier's, ankle and be dragged across the field, and it's going to be great. And George said, okay, all I want you to do is you'll hear the shot, you'll spin, and you'll go, oh, and fall. And I was like, oh no. That's totally lame, I want to scream, and George said, no, no, just, So I did, and of course he was right. You could not top the rape scene with something else. That was, you couldn't follow it with something bigger. You had to follow it with something that was simple, kind of almost curious and innocent, and it was a beautiful moment, and so many fans tell me it's their favorite moment in the whole film. So that was a great experience. And then I did score. And that was incredible because I got to go to Europe. And I had sworn I would go to Europe before I was a certain age. And I did that. So I was really happy about that. And it was, we were on the Adriatic Sea. My room opened up every morning onto the sea. I mean, it was just an amazing experience. The only bad thing about it was Claire Wilbur, who is beautiful in the film, hysterically funny. I would love to have been friends with her, but she thought that I was getting all the close-ups. She found out that I was getting paid more than her. No one was getting paid very much, but for some reason Radley was paying me a little more. She'd been on the Off-Broadway show with Sylvester Stallone. And Radley didn't want to cast Sylvester Stallone in the film because he didn't think he was good looking enough. So I could have, been in bed with Sly, So anyway, Claire and I rarely spoke. Radley gave me amyl nitrate once in the sex scene, and I'd never had it. And it makes you're pretty crazy. And I messed her hair up, and and she was so pissed at me. I mean, she was so angry that I touched her hair, So anyway, so that was that film. And then I think I did Shivers next, which was the Cronenberg film. And that was, again, an incredible experience. Get to go to Montreal, have all the, that stuff under glass, the duck under glass, stuff. And it was a hard shoot, though. It was a lot of nights, and we were... in situations, in cars, climbing out of cars, running into, bumper stuff. Paul Hampton was not supposed to hit the thing so hard when he did, but he did, and we were like, whiplashed almost, things like, we didn't have like special effects back then, it was like, okay, Lynn, cram this parasite in your mouth. And then, when it's time, open your mouth and stick it out with your tongue and, break the blood capsule and let some blood run out. And that was the special effect, and that is something, too, that I wanted to mention. The big difference, one of the big differences between films today and then was that when I did The Crazies, they had 5 stages of crazy. When I did The Crazies, George Romero would just say, okay, be crazier here. And we'd have to act. We'd have to show that insanity and that craziness. We didn't have the makeup people, do it. Cronenberg was wonderful to work with. I always thought for years that Paul Hampton and I didn't have a lot of chemistry in the film. But seeing the film recently, I think Paul was perfect for his role. he was just surrounded by all this insanity, and I think his kind of coldness and indifference, to it, and then pushing off on me as well, worked to the benefit of the film. And when I did my strip scene, I have a strip tease scene, which they actually wanted me to like strip off my underwear too, but I said no. I'm not going to do that because you don't need to see that. The tits are enough. So they finally agreed, so I do this little strip, and actually it's to David Cronenberg. Paul wasn't even on the set, so I got to, be really sexy because David is a very sexy man, and, so that was a lot of fun doing it. I was not supposed to be in the last scene. They had wrapped me and sent me home, and then someone thought, we should have Nurse Forsyte give Paul Hampton the parasite. And oh, yeah, so they brought me back. And that one moment where I come up out of the pool in slow motion, that's my favorite thing of me in all the films that I've ever done. I love that moment, the evil and the sexuality, and yet the sort of beauty and innocence and the slow motion, of my hand. I love the way my hand, I just love that whole moment. And people say, what were you thinking? And, it was funny because what I was thinking was, I'm going to get in, give him the parasite, and get the hell out of there before all these extras that they got from all around jump all over us and pull us underwater and drown us. So that's kind of what I was thinking, when I was coming to give him the parasite. So that was a great, great experience. And then I did Fighting Mad with Jonathan Demme, and got to work with Peter Fonda. And working with Jonathan was wonderful too. It was in Arkansas. So we were out there in Arkansas, and I got to go riding on this ranch on a horse, and had a cowboy boyfriend for a little while, and it was a lot of fun, to work with Jonathan. So those are kind of, I think I covered all of my old films, and honestly, I never thought most of them would ever be seen. So I thought, yeah, I'll do this, and it'll be a stepping stone, to winning that Academy Award, and nobody will ever see I Drink Your Blood, And then it like came out, and it was played at a theater where my mom and dad lived, so they saw it, and man, they were shocked to death. And then, all these years later, here it comes. And I have so many fans from those movies, and I realize now, looking back on them, that absolutely they should be seen now because they are brilliant, and I'm so honored and pleased to have been in them. Funny stories on set. One story during I Drink Your Blood, the police got wind that everybody on the crew and cast was doing, drugs, and somehow or another, we heard that they were going to come and do a bust. And so, like, everybody rushed off the set and ran up to their rooms. You could hear toilets flushing, everywhere. But they didn't come, So, and by the way, I'm not recommending that anyone take LSD or anything like that, because they don't make it like they did, back then, where you talk to the cows and things like that. Another funny story, well, on Shivers, actually, David Cronenberg, the girl that played the girl that had to cry all the time, she had a lot of trouble crying, and so she asked David if he would take her off set and slap her, and so David would take her off and he'd slap her around, and she'd come back on, in tears and all. And so David asked me once when I had to do an emotional scene, he said, do you need some help? And I said, no, David, I can act. So he didn't get to slap me around, but I did stab David in the shoulder with a fork because I was being attacked and raped, and I don't know why the guy who was supposed to do it wasn't there, but David filled in, and they put this tiny little patch on his arm, and I'm supposed to hit it with the big serving fork. And I'm, screaming, I'm being attacked, all that. I'm all over the place, and I stabbed him, and of course I missed, the little. But David was, he bled a little bit, but he was, fine about it. We got the shot the next time. They made the patch a little bigger the next time, and so we got that shot. On what's that? Oh, Torture Chamber. Actually, this probably isn't a funny story, but we shot one of the scenes underneath this mine, and I was, of course, always, I'm in like a short sleeve nightgown, cotton, and oh, it was so cold. I was blowing smoke, and I'm tied to this table, and Danny Lopez and the other crew, they would always run over and throw blankets on me and bring me hot coffee, and all that. Another funny thing that happened was when I did the remake of The Crazies, they told me that, and my manager, they told me that, I didn't need anything. It was just a cameo just to come. So I get there to Iowa at the motel on the night before. I have a 5 a.m. call. At like 9 o'clock, I get a call from the AD, and he says, "So Lynn, are you all set with the song?" And I said, "Say again." He said, the hymn that you're singing?" I said, "No. No one told me anything about a hymn. I have no hymn. I know no hymn." He said, oh God, you have to be singing a hymn. Okay, we're going to get it over to you." So messenger, appears, with the hymn. Well, I do read music, but I couldn't, So then they come back with a CD. Well, they're in Iowa at a motel. There are no CD players. So at 10 o'clock or 11 at night, I finally get the CD, and I'm trying to learn this hymn. Next morning, I go in, still trying to learn it, because it's not easy to, and although I do music and I sing, I like to have time to work on things. I get there, and they say, "Oh, okay, the stunt person needs to see you." And I'm like, "Say what?" The stunt guy's over there. So I go over there, and the guy says, "Okay, Lynn, so here's your bike." And I looked at him like, he said, "You do know how to ride a bike." You can see the panic, "You do know how to ride a bike, right?" And I said, "Well, I rode a bike like about 40 years ago." So for the next 2 hours, I'm on this little Schwinn, and I'm buzzing up the street and down the street and learning how to turn again, and doing all this, stuff. So, $21 million budget. No one tells me about the song. No one tells me I have to ride a bike. So it was challenging. And then I have to come up out of this alley. The crew's pushing the bike up a hill out of this alley, and I have to cut as close around Timothy Oliphant as I possibly can, singing the hymn and hitting a pool of light exactly at the right moment in the song, which they still didn't get that day, and I had to come back 2 days later and do it again because the lighting had changed and and all that. But again, that's the luxury of working on a big budget film like that, and I have to say that cameo is great, and it's short, but it's haunting, and people remember it, and I got a lot of attention from it, so it was great. So those are some kind of funny stories. I guess they're funny. I don't know. They were funny then. I was worried about I shouldn't tell that one. When I did Model Hunger, and they put me in this, this outfit. Well, I had no idea that they were going to put me in like a butt thong, So I was thinking, God, I hope like my butt's shaved, like you get like little butt hairs and stuff. And I'm thinking, oh man, I hope everything's like looks good, and maybe they won't be shooting in that area, And so I'm sure that the cameraman wasn't planning to shoot, but I'm getting on the table on top of the guy, and and sure enough, I feel the camera like, and I turned around and said, "You're not going to be shooting at my butt now, are you?" And and he brought it back up, and he said, "No, we're not," So that was kind of lewd, but. So I haven't seen it yet, so I hope I hope it looks good. Hope my butt looks good if they show it. I just wanted to briefly touch on some of the new projects I've done that have come out in the since 2005. Because I took a 10-year, I was off for 10 years. I did theater and I did my music, but I didn't do any films. And I really had no idea that I had a fan base or that anyone even knew who I was until like 2005. And then I was sitting in front of the computer, and I went, I think I'll type in my name and see if anything comes up. And like you know, 30 pages came up, and I was just like, I mean, I literally turned around to see who they were talking about. I was so amazed. And then from that point, the old films started coming out on, you know, new stuff, and things started to rock and roll at that point. I did two films with Richard Griffin, Splatter Disco, and also Beyond the Dunwich Horror, which are, you know, both great fun to see. I did a film called The Super, which is very good. Um, the guy that plays the lead is Dimitri, is brilliant as a super. Very disturbing film. Highly recommended. I did George's Intervention that I won a Best Actress award for. Uh, that's a comedy zombie film directed by J.T. Seaton, and it's wonderful. And J.T. also did Divination, which is a short that I did, and it's won all kinds of awards. And J.T. and I are going to do another film called Peripheral, which is about a person that sees something in the corner of their eye, and they're going to the psychiatrist, which is me, and trying to explain what this is. And it's not a pretty thing that they're seeing, and it's pretty scary. I think it's going to be a really great short. And we're also working on a feature film, which I can't really talk about that right now because it's kind of like a big secret. Um, Also did, what else? Oh, Basement Jack. Great movie. Michael Shelton directed it. He's a huge FX person for Terminator Salvation, among many others. This was his first directorial debut. Very good serial killer film. You know, really excellent. Let's see. I hate leaving people out, you know. Oh, Schism. I co-produced that and helped to had the storyline, helped with that. And I play a woman with three personalities. You know, one is Southern, you know, one's from Brooklyn, you know, one's so sexy. So that was a lot of fun. And there's a website for that, by the way. And of course, Torture Chamber, which is coming out in January, which there's a website for, and you can see it. There's a Facebook page for it as well. And let's see, gosh, what else? This year, oh, The Night of the Sea Monkey, great fun, a lot of fun. It's like a 30-minute short, 80s kind of feel to it, lots of fun. And The Trouble with Barry is a new one that's coming out. And I play the mother of this has-been gay guy. It's very funny. The whole film is just hysterical. I can't even begin to tell you how funny this movie is. And I have a great scene at the end where I do not stop talking for like 10 minutes. And she's just a wacky, it's just a great character. And it was based on Mike Justice, who directed it, on his mother. And she's such a funny character. I mean, I just love her. Ditch Day Massacre, I have coming out. I did that with Bill Oberst Jr. And I'm sure there's a website for that. And there's, on YouTube, you can go and see my scene with Bill, which is on, you know, YouTube. And Bill was so funny because he came up to me and he said, Lynn, I've got this great idea for our scene. And Bill is so nice. Such a good actor. And I said, what? And he said, well, you know, after you're, oh, I shouldn't probably say this. Well, you see it in the clip anyway. He said, after you're dead, I'd like to French kiss you. You know, stick my tongue like in your mouth and everything. Would that be okay? You know, and I was like, well, I'm dead. And he said, yeah, I know, but nobody's ever done that. And I said, yeah, okay, you know, sure. So it was so weird because, you know, you have to be like you're dead. And the first time he did it, it was such a weird, you know, I think my eyes popped open, you know, at that point. The second time I kept them closed, but that was pretty funny and pretty unusual feeling, you know, to be dead. The Grim Becoming, I did this past summer. Deftone Pictures did that. Adam Steigert directed it. And I play the Brooklyn, you know, airhead in it, and she's hysterical. I mean, I think it's going to be really funny. A lot of scary moments in the movie and really funny moments in the movie. And Bill is in that as well. So And Model Hunger, I think I talked about quite a bit, but that's coming out next year. I think will be really pushes the envelope. I mean, when I read the script, I hesitated because there's one scene in particular that I really wasn't sure that I wanted to do, but I really wanted to do the role because it's an incredible role. So I did it, and it's pretty disgusting, but I think, you know, if you just get by that scene, and the rest of the movie is, I think, going to be okay. But no, it's going to be a really shocking film, you know, really, really good. And what was the other one? Oh, Cannibals. Cannibals, directed by Joe Hollow, should be coming out next year, or we should be doing it next year. We haven't done it yet. And there's some, I don't know if I'm supposed to say who's in it or not, because I don't know if we're definitely sure who's in it, but there is talk of possibly Michael Berryman being in it, Bill Moseley, possibly, and Kane Hodder. Again, I don't know for sure, but there's definitely going to be some big, you know, big horror, you know, people in it. So, you know, really looking forward to doing Cannibals. I play the mother of the cannibal family, you know, and it's kind of like, you know, it's like a family, and they have problems just like every family, and they just happen to eat people, you know. But it's a drama, so it's not a comedy. It's definitely a drama, and you know, it's the kills are very technical because they practiced them and worked them out. I mean, it's a very interesting film. I think it's definitely going to get a lot of attention. I have a film also that just came out called My Brother is a Vampire, directed by David Decatu, French, you know. And it's great. It's very funny. I play the principal of the high school, and I have a scene with the vampire, and I also have a scene with his stepsister who's trying to tell me that her brother is a vampire, and I'm very funny in it. I loved working with David. It was great, great fun. Also have The Legend of Grassman coming up, which is about a Bigfoot. I play the strange woman in The Legend of Grassman, so I have this one really good scene, and I sort of give a bit of exposition in the scene about how to kill the Bigfoot in a really interesting way. And Tyler Meyer directed that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So check that out. Also, The Legend of Six Fingers, and I play the wife, and I have a whole monologue, long monologue about this beast, which is, I think, pretty interesting. So it should be a really good film from Sam. I think that's his second film. And let's see, I'm also was working on, oh, I know, these comic books. Ace Genovese has this comic book series that he's also turned into a sort of a podcast kind of series, and he's on like part 4, and I play Goddess in that film. I'm actually the mother of the outlaw. It's called The Outlaw. Outlaw 1, 2, 3, and I think we're on 4 at this point, and I think I've been in 2 of them. And The Haunting of Whaley House, directed by Jose Prendes. It's also a very good film. I'm the bookend in the film, so I'm the opening of the movie and I'm the end of the movie. And I've been told by many people that it's quite scary and that, you know, my performance is very haunting. So The Haunting of Whaley House, so be sure to see that. I just want to thank all of you for watching my interview. I have definitely enjoyed traveling down memory lane with you. And I would love for you to be able to get in touch with me. And also I wanted to thank all of you for being fans and watching my work all these years, because I really appreciate everything that, you know, you've given me and given me the reason to go on and do more and more. My website is www.lynnlowry.com, And I have lots of pictures. I have my Playboy pictures are there if you're interested in that. And pictures from all my films and descriptions of them and pictures from the films themselves. And there's a whole long biography of me that I wrote, which leads up to probably about 2006, something like that. So all the new stuff is not on it, but I'd love for you to go there and read it. And my email address is also right there at the top, so you can actually email me and I'll email you back and we can talk. I love to hear from fans. It's great. And you can also reach me on Facebook. I have 2 pages on Facebook, friend page and a fan page, and there are many, many pictures of the films that I'm doing currently, much more updated, works that I have, going on. And so I'd love for you to come there and send me a note, say hi. And I'm going to be doing several conventions next year. So I'm going to be in Europe for my European fans. I'm going to the Memorabilia in Birmingham, and I'm going to the Movie Days, the Dark Zone in Germany. And then I'm hoping to be in Nashville and, many other places, Calgary possibly, through the year. So keep checking my Facebook page because you will see where I'm going to be and you can come in and meet me in person, and that would be oh so very cool. So again, thank you all very much for listening to me and watching me over the years, and I'll see you soon.